Hi everyone, welcome to Celestial. Welcome to today's video. Today I'm going to be talking about what it means to have the North Node of the Moon, otherwise known as Rahu, in the 7th house of your D9 Navamsa chart. Now the Navamsa chart is a chart that represents many different things. A lot of people look at the Navamsa chart for spiritual development. It's known as the chart of fortune, but for today's video and for this series I'm going to be talking about it strictly in relation to the spouse or the long-term partner. And just a quick disclaimer, as you'll find in all of our Navamsa 7th house series, that for these videos I don't talk about the spouse's appearance or the long-term partner's appearance. I don't go into things such as skin color and certain features. I can understand and acknowledge that these may be important things for someone to know based off of their culture and just individual preference. But a lot of people in the world face a lot of grief and suffering over things that they can't control, such as the color of their skin. And here at Celestial, we won't be going into that. We don't want to peddle that into the world. So I just want to put that disclaimer in the beginning of the video, just so you don't get your hopes up and you don't waste your time watching this video if that is specifically what you're looking for. You won't find those answers in this video or in this series. With that being said, let's get into today's video. So the results or themes that the North Node of the Moon or Rahu promises is going to be based very much upon the sign that it's sitting in and then its ruler. So you would want to look at the sign that is in your 7th house in your Navamsa chart. Is it Aries? Is it Leo? Is it Taurus? And so on. Then you want to look at the planet that rules those signs. For example, for Aries, it would be Mars. For Leo, it would be the Sun, and etc. And you want to look at where that 7th house ruler has gone in your chart for a more accurate description or understanding of what you can expect in the realm of the long-term partner or spouse in this life. Now, in general, Rahu, or the North Node of the Moon, in the 7th house of your D9 Navamsa chart suggests a tendency towards unconventional or even non-traditional relationships. It's likely your partner is going to be unique in some way, different, or even from a different background altogether. Having Rahu, or the North Node of the Moon, in the 7th house of your Navamsa chart indicates a strong desire for partnerships and companionship, but this is something that usually comes much later in life, or at least being comfortable in long-term relationships will come a little bit later in life. You can find that you're a little bit awkward when it comes to committed relationships, especially long-term relationships. You can even find that when you're single or you're by yourself, you have a very strong desire to be in a partnership, but when the opportunity presents itself, for example, when you find somebody that you're interested in being in a relationship with or interested in getting to know, you can find that you get cold feet or you get a little bit awkward when it comes to the idea of actually committing to this person long term. So you can find that you're very intrigued by the idea of wanting to be in a long-term relationship or marriage, but when that opportunity presents itself, you may get a little bit awkward, you may have some fear or discomfort around committing. You may seek intense or transformative, even passionate connections with others. You can view relationships as avenues for personal growth and evolution. Having Rahu, or the North Node of the Moon, in the 7th house of your D9 Navamsa chart often indicates that it is a deep soul desire from a past life, or many past lives, to get into a long-term relationship, a partnership, or even marriage in this life, to work out karmas and create karmic harmony. Having Rahu in the North Node of the Moon in the 7th house of your D9 Navamsa chart of course points to very karmic relationships, especially with the spouse or long-term partner, and significant life lessons through this partnership as well. It's likely that your long-term partner or spouse is going to be someone who mirrors your own traits to you, so they can mirror your own desires that you have, fears that you may have, or unresolved traumas and issues that you have to you, and this will lead to deep insights and spiritual growths within you and through this relationship as well. Now, depending on the sign that your Rahu, or the North Node of the Moon, is sitting in your 7th house of your Navamsa chart, this can indicate a deep knowing of when you meet this person. You can recognize this person because they may be very intriguing to you, their aura may be very intriguing, or their energy may be very intriguing, but you can also simultaneously be a little bit awkward or not so forthcoming to get to know them or create a relationship with them, at least initially. Having this can also bring a intensity or even an obsessive quality to your relationship. There can be a lot of runner and chaser energy coming into this dynamic with this person as well, just because you do have Ketu, or the South Node of the Moon, it's sitting in your 1st house. When you meet this person, you'll face a strong attraction. You may be even infatuated by this person or with this person. You can have a fixation towards your spouse or long-term partner. And this can sometimes lead to a very dramatic or even tumultuous dynamic within your relationships, or at least with this person in particular. Having the North Node of the Moon or Rahu in the 7th house of your D9 Navamsa chart often points to some sort of challenge in commitment and stability within your relationship. You can have difficult themes come up, such as issues surrounding trust, boundaries, emotional depth. There can be a lot of fluctuation in your partnerships, or a lot of fluctuation surrounding the stability of your relationship, your marriage, or your long-term partnership. And you can even initially at least have difficulty in forming long-term bonds, but this is going to very much be dependent on the sign that is in your 7th house. It's likely that you yourself are attracted, or at least have some sort of pull towards partners who are from different cultures, backgrounds, or at least have very different lifestyles than yours. At a soul level, you're seeking somebody who has a very different experience or perspective of life, someone that you can learn from, and someone that can help you with your soul mission. Having Rahu, or the North Node of the Moon, in the 7th house of your D9 Navamsa chart very strongly indicates that your spouse or your long-term partner in this life is a catalyst for your soul's growth. It's very likely that your spouse or your long-term partner actually helps you with your soul's mission in this life, or they can be a key part in you understanding what it is that you're here to do, at least on a very spiritual level. Sometimes this placement does ask you to be cautious of themes such as deception, illusions, or hidden agendas within your relationship with this person. You may need to be cautious of unrealistic expectations, dishonesty, or manipulation within this marriage or long-term partnership as well, and even through other partnerships that you may experience in this life. Your spouse or your long-term partner is definitely going to act as a very powerful mirror to you. They may act as a very powerful spiritual portal for you as well. They play to be a catalyst for your spiritual growth and self-awareness, especially through this relationship. You're here to learn very important lessons about balance, compromise, harmony, and even understanding, leading to inner transformations and evolutions. You may also find that your relationship with this person, your marriage or your long-term partnership with this person, is almost always evolving. It's not very stagnant. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that it's unpredictable, at least by day to day. You can have themes that you go through. You can have different stages that you go through with this person, but the relationship or marriage is constantly evolving throughout this lifetime. Now, if there's affliction to this Rahu or the North Node of the Moon in the 7th house, it can indicate that what you're searching for in a partner, your spouse or long-term partner, is very, very difficult for you to find, or that it's constantly changing. You may find that you attract someone to you that may hold a promise that you may get emotional fulfillment through this person, or whatever it is that you're seeking, but when you enter into a relationship with them, you can see that that's necessarily not being upheld, or you're not able to find what you are actually searching for. That's why the sign that is in the 7th house and its ruler is tremendously important to analyze and look at. You can't just get a clear picture about your spouse or long-term partner just going off of Rahu or the North Node of the Moon in the 7th house. You would have to look at the sign, and you'd have to look at where the ruler is sitting as well. Now, having the North Node of the Moon or Rahu in the 7th house of your D9 Navamsa chart automatically puts Ketu, or the South Node of the Moon, in the 1st house of your D9 Navamsa chart. Now, this very easily indicates that you would have had a past life, or at least many different past lives, with the spouse or long-term partner that you're bound to meet again in this life. Now, whether that relationship is long-lasting or can go into marriage depends so much on aspects and against the ruler of the 7th house. Sometimes having the North Node of the Moon in the 7th house or Rahu in the 7th house of the Navamsa chart indicates that there's difficulty in forming a stable long-term partnership with one individual. So often this is seen in charts of people who have many significant relationships, and they run the course of many different times, but it's hard to kind of be with one person for the rest of your life unless you have Saturn or more grounding aspects present. You also want to take a look at your Dharkarka and of course your Lagna chart as well. If there are other aspects with Uranus and even Neptune to some extent, it can indicate that your relationship is ever evolving. So you can go through phases of being committed to one person. You can go through breaks, on and off types relationships as well. Or you can find that you need a breather from this individual, from your spouse or long-term partner, because the karma is so intense. This relationship is so karmically charged. You may need your space and breathing room from time to time. Or in other ways, you can find that your relationship, when it goes through stages, you can have a stage where you're completely in love with this person, and then you can have a stage where you're more like friends with this person, or you're more distant with this person. It's constantly evolving. It's very difficult for there to be a concrete theme present within your marriage or your long-term partnership here. Synastry becomes tremendously important to look at before you commit to somebody. I highly recommend that you get a synastry reading done with the person that you're wanting to enter into a legal and binding relationship with. Having the North Node of the Moon or Rahu in the 7th house of your D9 Navamsa chart can often make you feel like you're running out of time when it comes to finding the right person. Perhaps you have an inner knowing that the person that you're meant to be with in this life is someone that you have a lot of karmic history with, at least through many different lifetimes. When you meet this person, you'll have an inner knowing that you've met them before. And again, they can kind of scare you a little bit with their energy or aura, how they look at you, how you feel around them. It can bring up very awkward feelings. It can make you perhaps even a little bit uncomfortable. But there can be a hesitation in wanting to get to know this person, especially wanting to commit to them in a long-term partnership. In this life, especially on a very spiritual level, you are developing a skill to be a great partner. You've already kind of developed the skill of becoming a fully realized individual just because you have Ketu in the South Node of the Moon in your first house. So the partner that you get in this life is going to teach you a lot about how to be a good partner. So they can bring up a lot of intense themes, a lot of difficult themes that you're going to have to navigate through this person. Having Rahu or the North Node of the Moon in the 7th house of your D9 Navamsa chart very strongly indicates that your spouse or your long-term partner is going to be your greatest spiritual teacher in this life. They may really force you to take a good look at yourself, especially on a spiritual level, and some people may not be ready to do that, so they can end the relationship and run. But you can find yourself always coming back to this person or this person's memory or what this person was like, at least throughout your life. Perhaps if you weren't ready at the time that you met them and you ended the relationship, or the relationship ended for another reason, this could be somebody that you reflect back on as one of the great loves of your life, or your soulmate, or even your twin flame, the one that got away, and etc. You'll tend to always remember this person, especially on a spiritual level. They definitely leave an imprint, or sometimes even a mark on your subconscious and on your soul. This is someone that you'll always think of, reflect back on. Maybe you'll understand the themes and lessons that this person was trying to teach you much later on in life. Again, depends on the rest of your Navamsa, and of course your Lagna chart as well. The success of this relationship is going to very highly depend on how good you are at balancing your individuality and your desire to be in a relationship, your desire to meet the needs of your companion. So it's going to depend very much on how good you are at balancing both themes. Now, if you have more Libra placements or more Venus dominance and good Saturn energy, you'll be able to handle this. You'll be able to take it in stride and balance things out. If you have different kinds of energies, or there's more difficult aspects, squares and oppositions coming in from Mars or Saturn, even the Sun or Moon to some extent, then it can indicate that it's going to be very difficult for you to handle this energy and these themes with your spouse or your long-term partner. Now, synastry is very important to look at before you commit to this person, because perhaps that your partner, your spouse, has a chart that indicates that they're very good at balancing relationships. And if you have other good synastry, then it can indicate that you respect this person a lot and you're willing to be awkward or be uncomfortable or put yourself out there to really understand and learn important lessons from this person. So this is going to depend very much on your bravery and your courage and your willingness to really learn and better yourself. Sometimes I've seen this in a few charts when somebody has Rahu or the North Node of the Moon in the 7th house of their D9 Navamsa chart, they can really struggle with consideration. Now, I always say that the greatest act of love, the greatest theme of love is consideration. How much you consider somebody else, what their feelings are, how your behavior would affect them, and so on. I've often found that when I'm speaking to somebody with Rahu or the North Node of the Moon in the 7th house, and I ask them about relationships because of my own research, they say that they don't expect anything from others, so why should others expect anything from them? And this is usually something that comes up in the subconscious, or at least throughout different relationships. You want to be cautious and you want to understand that in this life, you're learning how to compromise and build harmony. Now, if your Ketu or the south node of the moon is very strong in your first house, you can really struggle with this. You can be unwilling to compromise, unwilling to balance, or unwilling to see things from someone else's perspective. And this will create more negative karma for you to deal with in this life, and this can actually carry on to your next life as well. At times you can feel that the universe is testing you as well. Perhaps they bring somebody into your life that you feel you're interested in getting to know, but somewhere down the line you're faced with a path, or you have a decision to make, whether you want to continue to be independent and live life on your own terms, or are you willing to blend your world and your desires and your needs and your goals with somebody else's and compromise. So you can find that you have to choose between your independence or your relationships. Now, there's also a lack of grounding to the North Node or Rahu in the 7th house of your Navamsa chart. You can find that you get into relationships, and when you feel, perhaps even on a subconscious level, that you've learned everything that you wanted from this partnership, or even that you've outgrown your partner, you can tend to leave them or abandon them or end the relationship somehow, and this can also create negative karma for you. So you want to be very mindful of how you choose to end a relationship as well. One thing I can say for certain is having Rahu, or the North Node of the Moon, in the 7th house of your D9 Navamsa chart very strongly indicates that you're here to work out karma with this person, or even through many different relationships. To be transparent, it's a little bit difficult to give you concrete traits of your spouse or long-term partner, because often this placement indicates that you will have many relationships, and they don't necessarily need to be romantic. They can be platonic, but either way, they're going to be very significant for you. And having this placement, having Rahu in the North Node of the Moon in the 7th house of your Navamsa chart, gives you so many different kinds of opportunities and partners. You can even find that your, quote, your type is never one person or never one theme of a person. So you can find that the relationships you get into, the person, whoever you're deciding to commit to or get to know, is vastly different than the previous one, even looks-wise, even personality-wise. So it becomes a little bit difficult to give you a concrete set of traits that you can expect with your spouse or your long-term partner. If you do want to know more about the traits, you would have to look at the sign, again, that's in the 7th house of your D9 Navamsa chart. And when you have this placement, you want to very strongly look at your Dharkaraka and what it's doing. So what planet it is and what sign it's sitting in, and its connection to the 7th house in your Navamsa chart as well. Now, because this placement often points to you having an attraction or pull to people who are vastly different than you, this can of course apply to physical traits as well. So your partner can look vastly different than you. Sometimes they can look very similar to you. Their personality can be very similar to you, at least on a very subconscious level, even related to shadow work can be very strongly present here. So again, because this often indicates that your partner is a mirror to you, they can be a lot like you, but with a little bit of a twist. Perhaps they're a lot like you and how you were when you were much younger. Perhaps they're a lot like you and who you evolve into when you're much older. So you'd have to look at the sign and aspects as well. If you have this placement, if you have Rahu or the North Node of the Moon in the 7th house of your Navamsa chart, I strongly encourage you to take that leap of faith, get to know the person that you're thinking about while you've been listening to this video. Go out, meet people. It's all very important for your soul growth and just evolution in this life. Take risks, be kind, practice consideration, go out, try to be social, meet different people. You have a lot to learn in this life, and you'll understand that the more you take those steps, the easier it's going to be for you and the less awkward you will feel. And with that being said, I'm going to wrap this video. Thank you so much for listening. I hope if nothing else, this video offered you a different perspective. I know I couldn't speak much on the traits of the partner, but I feel like I've explained why throughout this video. I'm very grateful and appreciative of all your support and kind words. It really means a lot to me. It means a lot to our team. I hope 2024 has been treating you well. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you're keeping well. I hope you're keeping safe. And until next time.